The air in Pretoria is thick with tension. It is a tension you can almost taste, a bitter mix of political fear and public anxiety. President Cyril Ramaphosa, the man who promised a new dawn, now finds himself navigating a perfect storm. His grip on power, once seen as firm, is being questioned every single day. The challenges are not coming from one direction, but from all sides at once. They are coming from within his own party, the African National Congress. They are coming from the streets where ordinary people are tired of promises. And now they are coming from the very institutions meant to protect the state, casting a long, dark shadow over our democracy. This is not just another political squabble, it feels different, heavier. Ramaphosa is fighting a war on multiple fronts. On one side, he faces the ghosts of corruption scandals, most notably, the Fala Fala farm saga. The story of a large sum of foreign currency, hidden in a sofa, then stolen, has just refused to go away. For a man who came to power on a promise to fight corruption, the allegations of undeclared funds and a subsequent cover-up have been, well, pretty devastating. On another front, the economy sputters along, failing to create the jobs our young people desperately need. This economic pain fuels social unrest, making the country a tinderbox of frustration. Then there is the ANC itself, a house divided where factions plot and scheme in the shadows, waiting for him to stumble. Every move he makes is scrutinized, every decision is second-guessed, not just by the opposition but by those who share a table with him. The South African National Defence Force is supposed to be a symbol of unity and protection. Its leaders are expected to be professional. They must be disciplined. Above all, they are expected to be quiet. That is why the recent actions of the chief of the SANDF, General Rudzani Masando, have been so deeply unsettling. In a move that broke with decades of tradition, General Masando held a press conference. He warned of destabilizing elements. He declared the army's readiness to protect the state. This was no ordinary briefing, a clear, powerful message. But who was it for? Or reminding the president where the ultimate power lies? It echoes dark days in other countries where militaries stepped in. For a general to step into the political arena on his own is a dangerous line to cross. He spoke of intelligence reports pointing to threats against the state. He assured the public the army would act decisively to ensure stability. On the surface reassuring, the subtext is chilling. For citizens who remember apartheid, this is terrifying. Just as South Africans were digesting the military's ominous warnings, another crisis erupted, this time on the international stage. News broke of secret meetings between high-level South African intelligence officials and their counterparts from Iran. Reports leaked from intelligence sources suggested the talks involved sensitive security matters, including discussions about bypassing international sanctions against Iran. Suddenly, South Africa was at the center of a geopolitical storm, and President Ramaphosa was left scrambling to explain a situation that looked deeply suspicious to our traditional Western partners. The revelations have caused panic in the markets and confusion among the public. The rand weakens against the dollar every time such a story breaks. This makes everything we import more expensive. Petrol, food. The government's response has been slow and unconvincing, filled with vague denials and claims of routine discussions. For the average citizen, the impact is direct and painful. When foreign and local businesses are afraid to invest, the economy cannot grow. This means fewer jobs are created. The era of state capture under Jacob Zuma left a deep and lasting scar on the nation's soul. Billions of rands were looted from state-owned enterprises like Eskom Transnet. High-ranking ANC officials were implicated in a web of corruption that crippled our public services. While Ramaphosa has initiated processes like the Zondo Commission to investigate this, the public perception is that very few powerful people have actually faced real consequences. They see two systems of justice, one for the politically connected, another for everyone else. When a poor person steals bread, they go to jail. When a powerful official is implicated in looting billions, they get redeployed to another comfortable position. As the skeletons keep tumbling out of the closet, the ANC's response has been to close ranks and attack those who expose the rot. Whistleblowers are threatened, journalists are labeled as enemies, and accountability is avoided at all costs. This defensive crouch is a sign of a party that knows it is losing its moral authority. Across the country, communities erupt in protest. These are not organized opposition marches. This is raw, unfiltered rage from ordinary people whose lives are becoming unbearable. They protest because the taps have run dry. No water. They protest because the lights are off for hours. Load shedding. They protest because there are no jobs. They protest because there are no houses. They protest because there is no hope for their children. Service delivery protests are now a daily feature, often spontaneous, often violent, born of desperation. Roads blocked with burning tires and rocks. Municipal buildings torched. Signs say, "We have been forgotten." The social contract between government and people is broken. ANC promises have turned to dust. The party that has dominated South African politics for 3 decades is now polling at historic lows. For the first time, the prospect of the ANC losing its national majority in the next election is not just a possibility, but a probability. This has thrown the party into a panic. This desperation manifests in several ways. Firstly, there is the internal bloodletting. The factional battles are becoming more vicious. The so-called Radical Economic Transformation, or RET faction, loyal to former President Zuma, sees Ramaphosa's weakness as an opportunity to strike. This internal war paralyzes the government. Ministers and officials spend more time on political scheming than on serving the public. Secondly, the party's rhetoric is becoming more radical and populist. As it loses the support of the urban middle class, the ANC is trying to appeal to its base with promises of radical economic change, accelerated land expropriation without compensation. This is coupled with a rise in nationalist language and sometimes xenophobic blaming of foreign nationals for the country's problems. For the 60 million people who call South Africa home, these high-level political battles are not an abstract soap opera. They have a real, tangible, and often devastating cost. The promise of 1994 was a promise of a better life for all. For a growing number of people, that promise feels like a lie. The political instability creates a constant state of anxiety. People worry about their jobs, the future of their children, and their personal safety. The government's inability to solve the energy crisis means businesses cannot operate effectively, leading to closures and job losses. The family-run takeaway shop cannot cook food. The welder cannot power his tools. The weak rand, a direct result of this instability, makes every family's grocery bill higher. As South Africa stands at this precarious crossroads, the path forward is shrouded in fog. The nation holds its breath, waiting to see which way the political winds will blow. The future of our democracy may well depend on them. First, keep a close eye on President Ramaphosa himself. How he responds to these multiple pressures will be critical. Will he be decisive, or will he continue to prevaricate, hoping the problems will simply fade away? Watch for any cabinet reshuffles. A bold reshuffle that removes compromised individuals would signal strength. Second, watch the security cluster. Pay attention to any further statements or actions from the military and the police. Or will the military's public profile continue to grow? Any signs of increased military presence on the streets or around key national points should be viewed with extreme concern. Finally, and most importantly, watch the people. The ultimate power in a democracy rests with its citizens. Monitor the scale and nature of protests. The response of ordinary South Africans, whether at the ballot box or on the streets, will be the ultimate determinant of our country's trajectory. The road ahead is uncertain, but it is one we will all walk together.